Is there such a thing as an objectively good or bad song?
Where do you come up with these questions? I don't think there's an objectively good or bad song. I mean, if you ask me, I know right away. But am I going to convince everybody in the universe, or is there a way of quantifying it or writing out a scientific formula? I don't think so. If there's some kind of magic, some kind of spark that you need to come up with a really good song.
Sleep, just lying in sleep. Had a wish I load. Oh, and I lost all my tape back from asking bees, just for asking bees that ought to be old. And that's the rent I pay. Just like my brother would say, out amongst the stars and the stones, every kind of fortune gets sold. Every kind of line is going to come back to me just as I go. And that's the rent I pay. Like my brother said, that's the rent I pay. Rent I pay. Like my brother said, that's the rent I pay. Sleep and I'm lying asleep. That I wish I know. Oh, and I lost all my tape back from asking bees, just for asking bees that ought to be old. And that's the rent I pay. My brother said, that's the rent I pay. Oh, the rent I pay. Even brother said, that's the rent I pay. Everybody knows just where you've been going. Everybody knows faces you can show it. And if that's your answer, no, I ain't your dancer. And if that's your answer, no, I ain't your dancer.
Rent I Pay. It's a song from They Want My Soul. It's the first song on that record. It's got the sound of Dave Fridman all over it, the producer we were working with for the first time then. It's one of our best rock songs. It sounds totally blown out, and I love it. I wanted to come up with a song for that record that was something with the same tempo as I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett, you know? And as we were getting towards the end of making the record, we had 2 more slots or so open, and still hadn't come up with that song, and I found this old waltz that we worked on way back at the beginning of the record called Rent I Pay that was like 3/4, na 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 na, and I found a way to change it to a 4/4. It worked at about 100 BPM where that song is, and somehow it worked. I didn't start playing guitar till I was 15. I wish I had started a lot earlier. The first thing I played was a little bit of piano, and then I got a bass guitar when I was maybe 13. But I quickly figured out I couldn't really write on that, and I wanted to write, you know. So the next thing I did was get an electric guitar. Yeah. Well, a lot of what I do is just is rhythmic. So a lot of that just happens just when I'm writing the song, you know. finding some rhythm to sing to. The rhythm, the strumming was part of that, you know, coming up with the chords and this sort of groove, you know. Later on, I'd start thinking about what the lead would be. It took me a long time to figure out how to write a good song, you know, and I'm still learning how to do the whole thing.
I bet you never worry, never even feel afraid. Bet you got it all found right. Never think to worry, never even feel afraid. Bet you things alone, and I know you don't really mind. 5 years by your side, so I know you really don't mind. Oh, and don't you ever I said don't ever, 'cause it's going to keep 'em hanging around. Be down. I said don't ever, 'cause it's going to keep 'em hanging around. And you think you have to, but it doesn't feel right. Famous sound of words make your head feel light. Petals getting picked with the love you now. 5 years going by, ever wanna stand on their side? Oh, don't you ever be down. I said don't ever, 'cause it's going to keep 'em hanging around. Be down. I said don't ever, 'cause it's going to keep 'em hanging around. I said don't ever, 'cause it's gonna keep 'em hanging around. I said don't ever, 'cause it's gonna keep 'em hanging around.
Don't You Evah? It's a song by the Natural History, this band we toured with in the 2000s, and I became pretty good friends with those guys. The singer, Max, and I were both trying to write an album at the same time, 2 different albums, of course, but he was working on an album in New York, I was working on one in Austin, and when it's that time to come up with songs and you don't have them all yet, then it can be, you know, it's a process, right? So we would commiserate over that. We would send each other songs, and I sent him a song. He sent me a few songs, and one of the ones he sent me was Don't You Evah. He called it Don't You Ever. And I put down a couple percussion ideas for it, maybe put down a guitar idea for it, and it was my favorite song in the world for about a week. You know how that happens, right? And I just went around the house singing it and playing it in the car, but it never came out. 2 years later, we were working on our next record, Ga 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 Ga, and we were looking for songs, and I said, I know this one tune. It's a great song. I bet it's kind of a hit, you know. And it never came out. A song by the Natural History, and so maybe we should just try that one. You know, I said, hey Max, if you're not going to put this out, can I can I put it on our record? And you know, he was fine with it. It was all about snagging this one song that I knew there was something there and nobody had heard it yet. Playing live is, it's the most sort of immediate payback you get for what I do. You know, the records are a document that lasts forever. That's always been the way I looked at it in my book, because because records mean so much to me. But there's nothing that tops, you know, being able to just go do a good gig and that sort of charge and that electric feeling of being there in the moment. That's untoppable.
Small stakes, give the blues. You don't feel taken or think you'll be used. It feels alright riding like a Sunday. It feels alright, keeps your mind on a page. I have small stakes, you see the bed of the blues. You don't feel taken and you don't feel abused. Small stakes tell you that there's nothing to do. Can't they be, can they pass one or two? So come on. Come on. Me and my friends saw ourselves short but feel very well. With the fan, with the fan. All-time danger in your mid-sized car. I don't need the stripes, but I go for Hummer. A big elevation on a minimum wage. These lights up below, set your life on the page. Come on, tell me I'm wrong. Mistakes will kill time when you're stuck back on the line. It feels alright Friday night to Sunday. Yeah, keeps you right, keeps your mind on the page. And the small stakes bring you where you're caught in a rut. You feel so uptight, you just wanna throw it all out. Small stakes leave you with the man on the blues. Can't they be, can't they pass from the twos? Come on. Come on, well, come on, well, come on, well, come on, well, thanks.
Small Stakes is a song from Kill the Moonlight, one of the last songs I wrote for that record, and it was a song that I wrote on keyboards. I wrote it, you know, sitting cross-legged on the floor in my studio apartment, where I wrote a lot of great songs back in the day. I had this thing where, you know, I would just sit there and just pound this Casio keyboard as hard as I could. It became this sort of exercise. Not exercise for my muscles, but it was an exercise for, you know, I didn't think of it as songwriting. It was more like, I'm gonna come up with something. I'm gonna force myself to come up with something, you know. That kind of tension and fed into the feel of this song quite a bit. I've always felt the pressure to deliver. I mean, I feel like that's what you gotta do. If you're gonna be putting out records, you gotta prove yourself every time. You're only as good as the last record. You gotta constantly be evolving, you gotta be constantly pushing yourself, or else what are you doing this for?